at 4:30. Declaration of quorum, trustee Hess present, trustee Fluger present, President Mansell is sitting in for trustee Zerflu, who is not present. Administrator Martinson is here, as our chief abbot, Chief Lees, and a couple of members of the general public. Did you have something to contribute, or are you just kind of here?
Except
For
one thing.
Okay, sounds good. I will get you in public comment then.
Okay.
So I will declare a quorum. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, the meeting agenda for May 28th today, as well as the minutes for April 23rd?
So moved.
Moved by Hess,
Second, sorry.
second by Mansell. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Chairperson comments. I will kind of segue into what Chairman Stewart is here to discuss on behalf of the PFC. But I will defer to him at that point. Did have a couple things come in last second, so I don't know if we're gonna be able to have action items today, or if it's just gonna be discussion point and bring them back. However, we'll get to those when it comes down to 6 and 7. That being said, we'll move on to number 5, public comments. Well, not really public, but Chairman Stewart, on behalf of the PFC.
Thanks. I just had one thing you should be aware of. On the last village board meeting, I had mentioned there was one applicant in the process still as to a first responder for fire department. Since that village board meeting, that applicant has passed both a physical exam and a drug test and has been appointed. Dustin put him on, and his name is Bruce Diggles, and we're happy to have him. And I believe that brings the Chief Lisa's staff up to 20.
Yeah, was that included in your report? You said you had 2 new members.
Yeah,
That was one of them?
Yeah.
Okay,
Or one of the two, yeah.
Thanks.
thank you. Any other member of the public? Seeing none, we'll move right into number 6, fire chief report. Chief Lees, you're up.
You guys got my report in front of you. Assistant Chief Lupke held a monthly meeting at the department. Tonight's training is gonna be fire ground setup and the car fire. I attended monthly board meetings. Still have multiple grants out right now that I'm still waiting to hear back from. Lieutenant Kaler's working on another grant for us for the Dennis 30 Foundation. Like I said, we've received all of our DNR equipment. Still working on that outlay, trying to make it a little more, I guess, feasible or obtainable than just wanting stuff. We had our annual rep fry at the station, which the proceeds from that are gonna go to school lunch accounts. The association's gonna donate that. I think we made like $800 or $900. Hopefully it'll make some sort of a dent in that. We have our annual street dance coming up June 13th. We burned off the shoreline at Ripple Creek, starting to green up pretty nice now. And the side note about 10 calls, I forgot to add where we actually are. We're more like 20 to 30 calls ahead of last year. I just to change it on here, I forgot to. I met with Gamber and Johnson just to possibly see if I could get some more storage solution in our apparatuses. Just because there's stuff that's floating around that I really don't want to see floating around if we get in an accident. There's our call volume for the month. See, we're up to 116 calls for the year already. Not even halfway through. Onto the vehicles, engine 1, the compressor cap system still not working, but really not that big of a deal. We can still make foam, we can still pump with it. It's not a huge thing that we need to worry about. Engine 2, there's no known issues. Engine 3 still out of service as far as for that air leak. And the rescue vehicle, the brush truck are still in good shape. Well, I got from my report, other than, do you want to talk about these now as a discussion point, or do you want to go on to Brandon? These aren't gonna be for like a motion, so this is just.
This is for discussion.
Guys.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
What's the plan with engine 3?
Engine 3, we're working on getting it fixed, but it's not an urgent thing that needs to
Okay.
happen.
So it is planning on being fixed any time frame?
Whenever the village crew has a chance to get to it, like I said, it's just a reserve engine, so we
Okay.
don't use it as a front line on anything.
That's fine. Thank you.
I have no problem with going straight into the other discussion point. Does anyone else have an issue with it?
No.
Okay,
Okay,
you're still
so
up.
So I made a fee schedule for the fire department, basically in relation to nuisance fires, people not following fire ordinance or their inspections aren't being taken care of like they're supposed to be. You can see the fee schedule I have here. Most of it is gonna be for, I guess, more of a deterrent to people than anything else. Or if, say, like, we have another railroad fire to where the railroad's driving down the tracks and they start a fire and it takes us 4 hours to put it out. That's really nothing the taxpayer of the village, I think, should have to bear, so we can bill the railroad company for those things. And just bring in another source of revenue for the village. Nothing outlandish, I kind of went between what Rapids has for their fee server, or for their fees. And kind of there's a couple of the other departments that have the same thing around here. That's kind of where I got my numbers from as far as the dollar value goes. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just brought it forward because I wasn't sure exactly which committee it needed to go to, so I figured we'd bring it here for discussion and you guys can tell me where you'd like me to take it to first.
So yes, thanks, Chief Lacy, for putting the time and put this together. So I told him we'd bring it tonight for discussion. There's a few of these things that I talked to him, I got run by staff. I do believe fire reports, we already have an ordinance created for that. That's already, I worked with Kim and Diana on that. The rest of these billing things essentially would actually, you guys would look them over and they'd probably go to finances, since that's where the HR is where the billing would come through. So my recommendation is that, the staff go through and make sure everything on here is, there's, like I said, I know the reporting fees, I think we already have that in our village ordinance, what we can charge, and we've had that. Let me go through and clean these up a little bit and, work with chief and have our legal look these over and bring these back next month, for your approval, would be my recommendation, if that's okay with you, chief.
Yeah, I'm completely fine with that.
So do we have an existing fee structure right now that covers, this is just an update of the existing structure?
Most of these front page, we don't have any, structure. I think the only one that I know we have now, I believe, is the report fees. So the rest of this would be adding a new,
Okay.
Ordinance to it. So that's why I definitely want,
Let's get it.
legal to look it over and then bring this back for you guys. And then I think we'd pass it from this committee on to FHR just to have them, look at it too. That way it goes through all the channels.
Seems reasonable.
That's just for the first one.
That's for just the fee schedule. for it?
Yes,
That's gonna be part of my SOG with the fire department itself.
yes.
Now, I went through the village ordinances, chapter 5, in relation to the fire department. I went through and updated them kind of more to what we're currently doing. Removing such things as like the bylaws references in here, and a couple other things, and adding the fee schedule to it as well, as far as the ordinances go. But yeah, nothing really big, but just some updated stuff to make it more in line, I guess, and say with what we're currently doing.
Okay, and this would likely go through legal as well and be referred to.
Yes,
PLP?
Yep.
I would, yes.
It's referred to PLP.
The intent then is to update chapter 5, including this in the fee schedule.
Yes.
And
Fee schedule is referenced in the.
yeah, it's 13.2.
And it's on the table of contents for the ordinance, it's under 5.21, the recoverable costs and fees.
Okay. And that would include both of these.
Yep, we did have both of those documents in there.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yep.
Now, we'll work, chapter 5 does have some couple of language that I'll work with the PSC to see if we should run those. So when it comes to power and discipline and things like that, I'll run that through the PSC. I'll get with Scott Stewart and we'll run that through because they do the disciplining and things like that, even though Chief Lacy has some authority. I'll work with Scott Stewart. So we bring this back, we'll have all the answers to all the documents, hopefully taken care of.
Sounds good. So we will be putting this, we will not be putting this on the agenda for next month. This will go to FHR and PLP, correct?
Well, it'll come through here. I'm hoping we get done. It'll come through here first and you guys will send it to FHR after this.
Okay.
And to PLP. So
But PLP and FHR, or PLP and public safety will likely be on the same day, so
we can put it on we'll put it on both agendas for
Okay.
motion. You'll pass it to one committee to the next.
just
So,
hand it off. Now we're down the line.
yes, so hopefully next month we can get this all finalized and vote on it at the July board meeting.
Okay, any questions about the fire report? Thank you, chief. On to police department, general update, Chief Abbott.
We had our full-time officer Mason Check was sworn in at the April 28th meeting. The board meeting, he's completed with his FTO phase and started this past Monday on his own. He obviously will have me on a phone to call anytime he needs, as well as Austin Burgess and others. It's tough to come to a small department, work full-time and not have a ton of experience. So we rely on our other agencies and myself at 24/7. So he's doing very well. I've had a lot of compliments, not complaints.
I was gonna ask.
From the
right
schools
under the-
already, that he's fitting in well in the schools and doing well in the schools. So, that's good to hear. Chief Lisa and I will be holding a bike safety rodeo day coming up. We haven't chosen a date yet. We'll have to get together. The Elks Club in Wisconsin Rapids, approached me and offered $700 to put this on this year. So, Officer Meredith attended crisis negotiation school the second week in May, completed that, passed. He'll also be working with me during the summer months to prepare for the fall 25-26 school year, as he'll be taking over SRO duties that I've done the last 5.5 years. Mason will also help out in the schools. He goes there every day as well, but, there's a few things that Josiah will take over, truancy citations that'll all go through him, one person, or in the past, whoever was working, took care of those. I'd like to keep it simple, and if there's any truancy issues or any issues in the schools, it's all through him. That's all I have for that. Squad conditions, no known problems on any of the 3 squads. Enforcements, the citations, there were 4 citations issued to the same gentleman on Seneca. He had a scrap yard in his yard. He was served with eviction papers 2 weeks ago. He has since moved out and the yard is much better than it was. Unfortunately, the people that own the property are now stuck with the potential issues, but, Ben and I worked together the last couple months on this situation, and I know I took some phone calls and emails. There's only so much we can do with a situation like that, but I'm hoping we're at the end of that tunnel. So then the second page, call volume, all numbers and such like that. I have nothing further. Any questions?
Questions?
I do have one quick one. What constitutes habitual truancy? What kicks it into that category?
So state of Wisconsin statute says any child that misses more than 10 days of school.
Yeah.
That is the magic number where the school can choose to start the truancy.
Okay,
That you don't have to. But that is the magic
it
number.
was, okay, I was just wondering what that magic number was.
Yeah, so the process typically is the school, once they want to initiate the truancy protocol, is they fill out a paperwork that's recognized by the state of Wisconsin. And then they ask us to issue a citation.
Okay, thank you.
I think they typically send a letter home at like 8 or 9, just to kind of give you a warning that.
Yeah, I think that's what the school
There's
does.
a 5 and a 10-day letter.
Yeah, all we do at the police department is issue the citation.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
All right, negotiation position with the Wood County Sheriff's Department SRT.
So Officer Murtis did go to school. This was school that he's asked to go to the last couple of years, along with one other one. Talking with the 2 lead SRT officers, who are Lieutenant Christensen and Deputy Turkey. They along with the sheriff have agreed to allow smaller agencies such as Nakusa, Grand Rapids, Port Edwards, Pittsville to allow full-time officers from other agencies to join the SRT team. This is good for us because it may potentially retain a full-time officer longer. If they're allowed to do things that they would like to do at bigger departments, but they could still do it with him here. The sheriff and I are currently working on a MOU for this. Once that is done, we will bring it back to public safety after it goes through legal. And their training days will be on Officer Murtis's days that he's working. And obviously there'll be call outs and such like that, but I think it's a great way to meld our departments and work together. And Officer Murtis is sitting in a pretty good spot because the three negotiators that the county has right now, they have a lot of training experience, and it's something that's gonna build Officer Murtis's knowledge in his career. So.
Very good. Any questions?
Thank you.
On to the next, the MOU with the chaplain program.
Yes, so, thank you for the email this morning. I did change on my end,
Mhm.
what Attorney asked to. I'm not sure if you were able to get that or not,
I did, yeah.
okay.
I believe it should be correct in your package. Please double check. I believe
Okay.
page 2 was the big change.
What was, the-
Yes, the last bullet point on page.
Yeah, so we added the bullet point that neither,
Nope, yours is correct.
what was the change?
that neither
wasn't
department
added.
personnel nor any member of the public at large shall be required to utilize the services of the police chaplain. And then there was also one other change that, underneath the role of police chaplain. A police chaplain is a clergy person who has received further education and certification by a recognized non-denominational chaplain.
That is probably not changed on your first
It's
page.
done.
Okay,
I just added page 2 to
oh,
the,
okay.
we already had these printed off, so I just
Yep.
print 2, so
But-
my
but
bad.
It is changed to non-denominational, that way, and I did speak with Chaplain Paul, and he had no issues with that, so.
Correct, yes, that's 100% right. I did have a couple of questions, as
Sure.
anyone else did. Would this be available to other Port Edward staff, like fire department, public works? We had an incident in the county involving highway department personnel, so the chaplain was on scene because of the incident. And the highway department personnel utilized that. Would this be available to, say, fire department members, to public works? Should something happen like that, or is it primarily focused on law enforcement?
So what Paul and I have talked about is just for the police department.
Okay, but if police department happens to be there at the scene,
I would have no issues asking him
Okay.
if he would, have any issues, but he can answer that himself, I guess.
Yeah, so, well, part of the challenge is strength of his building relationships with the officers, so I'm riding along, I'm talking with the officers. I can certainly help on the scene. In fact, I'm certified in critical incident response and trauma-informed care through the state DOJ. So if there's a scene, like I'm on the scene, I'm happy to be used. However, I would be happy either chief, if you want to use me in any way.
Okay.
Absolutely.
that's how I thought it as well, typically law enforcement, police department's there for pretty much everything that would involve something that would be to the level we would require chaplaincy to those.
We wanna do kind of like an MOU with the fire department as well.
I would suggest it. That way, I mean, if,
You can use this as
Yeah,
pretty much. the
Pretty much
template.
just change the,
Correct.
from police department to fire
Yeah.
department.
yeah, I mean, if you guys are on a fire call just into the township.
Yeah.
We won't be there
Mhm.
in that situation.
Right.
I would probably have a separate one. That way, if chief police thinks that maybe having the chaplain is, I think it would just cover everyone's
Yeah.
bases. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and then maybe, because I'm mostly building relationships with the police,
Yeah.
right? But if I'm on scene, I need to know who I am, so maybe coming in and doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
When you have a meeting with the whole gang.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll forward you this Word document.
Just grammatical. That last bullet point, neither department personnel, I think that should not be a bullet point. Just make that a separate sentence. Just for clarification's sake. Just my thoughts. Responsibilities. Is appointed by and shall serve at the discretion of the chief of police with the approval of the Port Edwards Village Board or a board sanctioned committee. I think we should pick one and go with it. rather
Oh,
than
you're
giving,
you're on this one.
I'm on page 3, sorry.
Sure, I can take the second part out, so it just says Port Edwards Village Board.
That would be my preference.
My preference also.
Can we go back to the bullet point? The
Absolutely.
bullet point was suggested by Attorney Abst.
No, I understand that. I'm perfectly fine with the language of that. I'm just talking, it doesn't belong in the list because the list is things that the chaplain may do.
Right,
I think that one should probably be a second or a separate sentence
okay.
outside of the bullet list.
Stuck out.
Yeah, cause you're talking about things may. No one shall be required to. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that seems like
Sure.
it's not part of the list that you were talking about.
Sure, I'll add it above then.
And maybe that's just the grammar stickler that I am. Bottom of page 3, the chaplain will schedule a minimum of 3 ride-alongs with each officer per year. That sounds like a requirement, and we kind of put something in there that the chaplain services shall not be required, and I'm just wondering if we're maybe contradicting ourselves. May schedule, because will is a hard, it's required to. I'm just trying to find a way to word this here where we're not contradicting one section into the other.
Yeah, okay. Would you, that, or we could add if the officer.
Elects to participate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Officer.
Correct. Okay. And on page 4, second bullet point, imminent is spelled wrong.
Well, the
Sorry.
good thing I didn't put this together then. I'm not gonna.
Can you tell I actually did read it?
I'm not gonna say it.
Second bullet point. It's first, but what you have a second.
Yeah, so it's the second one on the amended one. Everything got shifted down once because of that extra line, so it's,
The amended one.
yeah, no. Any other questions, comments about the MOU? Ben?
And I'll work with Brandon, the liability of the village, he's not considered an employee, but we obviously put him underneath our insurance when he's riding in cop cars and he's gonna be on scene. I don't know if
Do you have insurance on yourself for this program typically?
Typically, the agencies will cover that, but that's why it needs to be cleared by, I've been on the chaplain frequency for some. Yeah, there is, I'm in a car, and it's ICPC, so I'm licensed with the International Conference of Police Chaplains. They have some, I don't know, they honestly know what it is or how deep it is, but
I'll work with, I just wanted to make sure we're on this. I'll work with our insurance with Diana just to make sure we're covered physically and
We'll work on
word wise
it.
and everything or whatever,
our
so,
insurance company probably, this is not the first time.
Yeah. so. I just wanted to make, obviously, we've got a few homework things we're gonna do. You're gonna change the wording to get this to be police and fire. And I'll quick run this back by Nick and get the insurance and have that information. We can try to have this on the agenda for next month. Is that what we're looking for to pass?
Yeah.
I'll get
I-
Aaron will send me the
Are you-
MOU and I'll.
Are you okay if I change this to police and fire?
I think we just do one, right?
Do you object to that? I mean, there's, okay.
We just
Yeah,
do,
I'll
do,
change
do,
that, that's
do one MOU and I'll work with the insurance stuff.
Well, the expectation I would have is, I'm not meeting with all of your staff.
Correct. Your primary responsibility is simply.
Yeah, yeah, I wanna be clear.
No, you're.
You're meeting with
I get
every
you.
single one.
Individually.
You're getting a pager tomorrow.
I'm responding.
I knew up, I'm responding, yeah, immediately.
I have a point of
trustee,
clarification.
yes.
This is written with all the police verbiage in it. So if you just add fire to it, it's gonna complicate it.
True.
Discretion of police chief, and then you've got the police chief, you've got all of this.
Yeah,
And if you want to reword it with police chief and fire chief, or you'll make 2
And then
MOUs.
the ride alongs are another.
yeah, I think probably easier if you and I just sit down together and we do separate things.
Email me the
I'm
one.
not saying you can't do it, it's just gonna have to get reworded.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
Point.
Yeah. Rick makes a great point too,
Yep.
yeah, because there are things that are very law enforcement specific in there, so.
Right.
Yeah, you can just remove those, add fire chief, and then we'll have 2 concurrent, mostly parallel documents.
Ben, when do you want it back? So we can get it to.
ASAP.
Was it?
You
Tomorrow,
can get it to me by the first week in June, first or second week in June. We're not gonna be meeting again until
Right.
end of June, 4th week, or whenever you guys set your meeting.
correct. Okay, any other discussion about the MOU? Okay, we'll be bringing that back next month. Old business, I have none. Does anyone else have any old business? New business? Other than what we already addressed today, I have none. Correspondence received, trustee Hess,
No.
any correspondence? Nothing. Okay. Agenda items for next meeting, we will be revisiting the MOU and the fire department fee schedule and ordinance updates. Both will be intended to be referred out after that meeting. Anything else for next meeting agenda? Okay, next meeting day. We've been back and forth on this. Is it third Wednesday or fourth Wednesday? I would prefer fourth Wednesday.
Fourth is what it's been,
Okay,
I'm here every Wednesday for work, so it doesn't matter.
okay.
June 25th. It's been fourth Wednesday for public safety.
Let's go fourth Wednesday. I will trustee Hess, fourth would be June 25th. 4:30 PM with no objections.
4:30, so.
4:30, correct.
Okay.
All right, and without objection, I will call the meeting adjourned at 4:57, just in time. Thank you all.